Hi everyone, Raani here. You're listening to Clean With Me, the podcast where I talk you through cleaning your house. Thanks for joining me. In today's episode, we are going to be deep cleaning a closet. And before I lose you with that, you may be thinking, no, my house is kind of out of control. I need to focus on the visible areas and things like that. Well, if you're getting ready to have company or something, this episode is not for you. However, by picking a closet and cleaning it out, you're going to free up more storage space, which will help with decluttering your home. This is key, folks. So, what I want you to do is go ahead and gear up for your cleaning session. Maybe you need to freshen up, light a candle, turn on your wax warmer, start a load of laundry, whatever you need to do, straighten your front entrance, whatever you need to do to kind of gear up for your cleaning session, go ahead and do that. But what I want you to do is be thinking about which closet you need to clean out. I'll kind of give you a few examples. This could be a coat closet. It could be a linen closet. It could be a bedroom closet. I think that about covers it. But pick a closet where you wish you had more space in there to put things. And I'll kind of talk about what I've been doing in the way of closets. You're going to want to get some supplies together, though. You might need some boxes and bags, or you might just be pulling everything out, piling it in the hallway, going through it there. But if you're going to be donating some items or throwing away some items, I recommend having some boxes and bags to sort those in. Another thing is you might want to grab like a Rubbermaid tub if you're planning to start storing something somewhere else to free up closet space. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. I'm going to give you a couple more minutes to kind of gear up for your cleaning session. Maybe you need to get your dishwasher going. This is kind of a messy project. I will warn you, we're going to be pulling everything out of one of your closets. And I know that kind of might make you feel panicky. I hate making a mess in order to clean. However, I recently cleaned out my hall closet, and other than a few things that I left on the top shelf, I pulled everything out. So a lot of times that's a necessary component, especially if this is a deep clean for you, because we are going to be vacuuming or sweeping out the closet, wiping down the shelves before everything goes back in. The longer you live in a house, the deeper you have to go with the cleaning, and that includes complete closet overhauls. I've told this story on my podcast before, but years ago I had told my next door neighbor that I was cleaning my house frantically because my mom was going to be coming and, staying a few days at my house. And I ended up bringing my neighbor a bag of clothes and kid clothes. Like, I found these when I was cleaning out the closet, and she's like, "You're cleaning out your closet? Is your mom staying in the closet?" It was kind of funny, but that was going to be the closet. I did clean out the closet in the room where my mom was going to be staying, so she actually probably did open the closet door to hang up a few things. So it made sense, but at the same time, it made sense what I was doing, but what she said also, what the neighbor said also made sense, because my energy could have been better spent on the actual visible areas of the home That having been said, you still have to clean out your closets or you're not going to have anywhere to put stuff. We are definitely kind of challenged on storage here. It's not that we don't have any storage. I think anytime you have a big family, you may have some challenging storage issues. There was one house where I actually had so many cupboards in the kitchen that some of them were empty. Okay, but that's rare. For most of us, that's rare, and we could use more storage. By now, you've geared up for your cleaning session, and hopefully, you've picked a closet. If you're still not sure which one you want to work on, I'll give you a few ideas. I like to keep my vacuum in the floor of the coat closet, but over time, people put things in there to the point where there's no room for the vacuum. And then where are we going to put the vacuum? The vacuum ends up in the laundry room or my closet and just some inconvenient place, sometimes in the garage. I don't like that. So from time to time, I will clean out the coat closet for the purpose of clearing that floor area to make sure there's a place to put the vacuum. If you don't have storage challenges, this may not resonate for you. If your kids are all grown, you may not have these same storage challenges. However, grown kids do present storage challenges too. Another thing I'm going to be talking about. I have a lot to talk about, but just a thought. Maybe there's a closet you want to clean out so that you'll have room for your vacuum, or maybe your linen closet is just kind of bursting at the seams. Okay, I know mine is. That's going to be my next project. I'm going to talk about what went on with my coat closet, but then I'm also going to talk about my plans for the linen closet. And my husband was mentioning how I have stuff on the shelves in my linen closet that could be moved somewhere else so that we would have more room for the actual linens, sheets, blankets, extra pillows, things like that. And one of the main things that's cluttering up my linen closet are my seasonal decorations. Now, we do have a Rubbermaid tub. I mentioned Rubbermaid tubs. That's where this comes in. We do have a Rubbermaid tub out in the garage with Christmas decorations, but then I also have a few small seasonal decorations that I use for other holidays, and those are just on those linen closet shelves. So those need their own tub. In a future cleaning session, I'm just sitting here talking to you over some coffee, but in a future cleaning session, I plan to start a tub for my other seasonal decorations, put them in there, put that out in the garage. Now, I do have photo albums in that linen closet. I don't want to store those in the garage. Temperature issues. There's a reason why people sometimes pay for climate controlled storage when they're moving, when it comes to photos. I get that. So the photo albums I'm planning to move into my bedroom closet where there is some unused space on some shelves. There's a top shelf and then there's also a lower shelf. So some of my photo albums are already in my bedroom closet. That's another thing that kind of makes me crazy, storing things of the same category in different places. I'd rather be more organized than that. So some of the photo albums are going to move into my closet, and I'm going to start a new tub of seasonal decorations that's going to go out to the garage. I mean, these are just the little things that you pick up at Dollar Tree, like when you decorate for fall or whatever. That stuff can be moved. So hopefully I've given you some ideas about why you might want to clean out a closet and which closet to focus on. I mean, if your closets are not too bad and there's not a ton of stuff to deal with, and if your house is like ours and your linen closet is right across from your coat closet, you could tackle them both during this episode. But, don't bite off more than you can chew as far as making a mess that you're not going to clean up. I am going to give you what I like to call recovery time near the end of the episode to kind of put everything back together. So hopefully we're 10 minutes in. Hopefully you've geared up for your cleaning session. You have your boxes and supplies. You have a game plan. It's time to start pulling everything out, whether you're going to separate it into piles or into bags. You're going to pull everything out. And you'd be surprised, a lot of what you're going to be doing may not even involve getting rid of stuff. It may involve redistributing things. I feel like our coat closet kind of becomes a catch-all. I don't see them do this, but I feel like when the kids are in a hurry to clean up the living room, that they somehow stick things in there, random items. So anyway, while you're working on whichever closet you want to work on, obviously I can't tell you specifically what the steps are going to be, but I want you to pull everything out, sort through it, then you're going to clean the closet and put the stuff you plan to keep back into it, redistribute other things from throughout the house, and maybe put a donation bag out in the car, something like that. Take out the trash, that sort of thing. So just be working on that while I talk to you. This isn't a step-by-step instructional, but after a while I'm going to remind you to, wipe things down and vacuum and then put everything back. But you're going to have lots of time, so dive right in to the closet of your choice. So in my coat closet, I have board games on the top shelf. I have jackets and coats. I guess more jackets. We're more of a jacket family than a coat family, I think. But jackets hanging up. And it's not every jacket we own, but typically whatever sweater or jacket you're kind of wearing on a regular basis is in your own closet. And then the extra ones or rarely worn ones tend to be in that coat closet. That's kind of how we do things. You may want all of your jackets and coats in your coat closet, or you may want it just for your visitors' coats, that sort of thing. But for us, it's those extra jackets and coats that maybe we don't wear that often. It's where I would go if I had company and somebody was like, do you have a sweater I could borrow? Do you have a jacket I could borrow? That's kind of where I'm going to pull something out, because those are the ones that I don't wear as often or whatever. My vacuum is supposed to go in the bottom of that closet. I mentioned earlier adult kids could generate some clutter issues. There's a stage sometimes when your adult child moves out, because I have kids of all different ages, ranging from 28 down to 11. I have 6. So my third born is at that age where she'll move out for a while, but then she might come back for a little while. And when they're kind of still at that age, she's 20, you are sometimes still storing items for them. They don't necessarily want to pick up all their stuff, or maybe they just haven't done it yet. So that's kind of where we are with that. So we ended up putting a lot of her stuff in that closet. A lot of the stuff belongs to her baby, and she comes over and like gets things out of there and stuff, but it's kind of become a storage area for her. So I'm kind of back in that situation where I don't have room for my vacuum, but I can actually have both. When I do clean out that closet again, I just did it real recently, but when I do it again, I actually did it to make room for her stuff that we were moving into there into the closet from another location. But I'm actually going to reorganize her stuff in the bottom of the closet and make a space for the vacuum. I mean, the closet's pretty clean. I just cleaned it out for the purpose of putting her stuff in there, but now I'm realizing that since she's picked some of it up, I can make a space for my vacuum again. So that's not a closet that needs a complete overhaul. I just need to organize it a little bit to make room for the vacuum. Um, you ever notice in these movies, like somebody moves out or whatever, and like they go back to visit their parents, and like their room is like still intact? I mean, yeah, that doesn't happen in a big family where you don't have a huge house. Um, there's never an extra room that's just sitting there just as it was, or no, no, there's never an extra room. Um, we have a 4 bedroom house and 3 kids living at home. Each one has their own room. And when my son moves out, I'm assuming he'll be the next to move out. We're thinking about either turning his room into an office or, well, probably the first step would be making his room my office for a while. Because the other kids are like, oh, we get to upgrade to that room? No, that's going to be the office. Because it's one of those bedrooms where it's designed to be like the optional den. It has a high ceiling, it has double doors. Anyway, if you have adult kids who are still storing things at your house, you know the struggle. And obviously, there will probably come a time when your child is married, settled, and you actually just give them all of the stuff, like, hey, do you want this stuff? Do you want me to save this stuff? Or do you want, whatever. My daughter Jessica, who hosts this podcast with me, isn't storing anything here at this point. So the storage issue does eventually go away. And she hasn't been for quite some time. I mean, basically my husband just went to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I grabbed up like 3 items that belonged to Jessica's kids and was like, take these with you. So she hasn't stored anything here in years. So if you're feeling irritated about storing things for an older child, just realize that it's a normal stage for most families, I think. And it helps them out that you're storing things for them until they get settled. Okay, keep working on the closet of your choice. The next thing I'm going to talk about a little bit is my linen closet. One of the reasons my linen closet is kind of bursting at the seams is that I had a storage ottoman, but I'm in the process of changing my furniture. I have a new couch and a new ottoman. The other couch is going to be here in like 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, hopefully. But the new ottoman doesn't have storage. And I kind of knew that when I ordered it. I did order it online, but I kind of knew it didn't have storage because nobody mentioned that in the reviews. So I thought, well, it probably doesn't open up, and it doesn't. My daughter Jessica was telling me that it's in style to have some type of a basket in your living room for blankets. So I kind of want to do that because there is kind of a spot. I mentioned I'm still waiting on a couch, but basically for now we kept half of the sectional. So we still have the 2 couches going on. It's not a sofa and love seat combo. It's I guess, sofa and half a sectional. But it's configured the way that my couches are going to be configured. So I can see that there's kind of a space next to the end table where I could do like a blanket basket. Yeah, I like the idea of having like a blanket and pillow for someone who crashes out on the couch or something like that. And even when I totally reorganize my linen closet, I think I'm going to be a little bit short on space. Okay, story time. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this in like 2 different episodes, but I was having a conversation with Jessica about the show, and she mentioned something that I should talk about on the show. It kind of escapes me what it even was. And I was like, yeah, I've talked about that before. And she's like, Mom, if you've talked about it before, it was probably a long time ago. And I'm like, you're right. It's been at least 4.5 years since I started this podcast. So there are potentially things that I haven't talked about in years. And Time goes by so fast. I don't know how long it's been. I don't expect you to go back and listen to every episode, but I appreciate those who do. Um, but I have talked about this in the past, but I think it bears repeating. When I was kind of at that age where you're moving around a little bit, I was talking about, these young adults haven't really settled yet. When I was in that stage, there was a short time period that I was staying, I would say renting a room, but I wasn't even paying. I was staying at the house of a lady I worked with. She was going through a divorce, but she had like a big house and there was an extra room, and she really just kind of wanted to hang out with me. And so I was staying at her house, and her house looked, beautiful, spotless, ritzy neighborhood. But I soon discovered by living there that every drawer, every closet, every cupboard was jam packed with stuff. It was like, you could almost think of it as a hoarder situation, but not as out of control as what you see on like a show called Hoarders, because the house looked great, but she never got rid of anything, and she just kept everything. It was like if you went to open a closet or something, oh no, don't open that, it'll be like an avalanche. So, you know about a junk drawer in the kitchen? She had several of them. So anyway, it was just crazy how much random stuff she had, and I feel like it would take years to go through that stuff. Not to discourage you if you have a lot of stuff to go through, but she is the exception and not the rule. Telling this story doesn't really support the premise of this episode, because for me, when I clean out a closet and put more things in it, my house looks better because things are being stored out of sight. With her, somehow her house was clutter free, even though all those spaces were jam packed. But maybe she just had more storage. I don't know. I don't fully understand it. I've never really seen someone else who lived just like that. And don't worry that she's listening. I lost touch with her years ago. She doesn't know my last name or anything. Also, I joked with her about it, and she knew it was a problem. To make a long story short, I didn't end up staying there that long. Her ex-husband found out I was staying there, and I guess he was paying the mortgage and whatnot. Still, even though he was living in another location, he had left her. He was the bad one, but anyway, he kind of freaked out and like borderline got violent. So I decided to leave for her safety since he was so upset about it. So this method of cleaning where she would, and obviously she cleaned surfaces and whatnot. Her house looked nice. She wiped things down. She did her dishes after eating. She vacuumed, all the things. But she had this issue with just putting clutter away instead of getting rid of things. Her method of just putting things away would work in a pinch if you were having a visitor who was not a house guest, because had I not been her house guest, I wouldn't have been opening every drawer, every cupboard. Not that I went through everything in her house, but you know what I mean. I wouldn't have been, going through these spaces. So I definitely understand what my neighbor meant, like, why are you cleaning out your closet of all things when, your mom's going to be here in a few hours or whatever. So, yeah, there's a time for everything. There's a time to stick things in closets, but there's also a time to clean out those closets. And for me, it's not possible to keep my home clutter-free and still have the closets jam-packed. I need to be able to... How am I going to stash something in the closet if there's no free space? Okay. Let's put it that way. And I also don't want to be storing things in my bedroom along the walls. I I hate to even admit this, but when I moved my daughter's stuff into that closet, it was because some of it was like in a corner behind, not even a corner, but just kind of behind a recliner along my living room wall, which was making me crazy. But she had a couple boxes there. So, yeah, I don't do that. I don't like any boxes showing. So, if you're going to have boxes of stuff, they're going to need to go into the closet. And I do give you permission to take some things out to your garage. I know not everybody has a garage, but if you have a garage, just, use a tub that seals. If you don't know what a Rubbermaid tub is, it's like some of you are overseas and have different brands. I get that, but it's like a plastic container with a lid that kind of snaps on. I mean, yeah, there are certain things that you may not want to store out in your garage in a Rubbermaid tub, but I promise you, like little seasonal decorations will be fine out there. Speaking of linen closets, maybe the closet you're working on right now is a linen closet. Do you have more sheets than you need? Sometimes, you'll go through this thought process in your head, like, what if I paint? I mean, do people really put sheets down anymore when they paint? Or do they buy plastic and painter's tape and stuff that's more effective? I mean, let's face it, it's better to protect your carpet with plastic when you paint than a sheet. So do you really need those sheets? Now, don't get me wrong, you may need some extra sheets. Maybe you're the type of person who your kid needs a costume or something, so you want to grab a sheet and then use that fabric to kind of put something together at the last minute. Okay, you might need a few things like that, but still you might have way more sheets than you need. I was listening to some type of cleaning podcast or cleaning episode of a podcast. I don't remember where I heard this, but somebody was saying, like, I give you credit if you're the type of person who just washes your sheets and puts them back on the bed and that's the only set you have. Like you're more organized if you do that. But like, to me, it doesn't make sense, because if something spills on a bed or whatever and you need to change the sheets, you need a spare set to put on immediately so you can go back to bed or whatever. Like, yeah, I don't get not having a spare. So my personal rule is that for every bed in the house, you should have at least two, I say at least, but you really only need two fitted sheets, because you need that fitted sheet to sleep on. I mean, sure, you can go without the top sheet, grab a blanket or whatever. Let's say that just your entire bed was somehow soiled. If you have a fitted sheet and then just an extra blanket, you can use that while you're washing your comforter and your other sheets. So beyond having a complete set of sheets plus an extra fitted sheet for each bed, and maybe in your kid rooms you don't even have a top sheet, maybe you're just using, or even in your room, maybe you're just using a fitted sheet and a comforter. You need basically a comforter and either a spare blanket or another comforter and two fitted sheets. That's the bare minimum. You may also need a couple flat sheets if you always use those. But I do not believe in the concept of just washing the bedding and then putting it back on. I mean, let me rephrase that. I often do wash my bedding and put it back on, but I don't believe in not having an emergency sheet. All that to say this: if you have more than two sets of sheets for a bed, you may need to downsize to free up more space in your linen closet. Or if you just love hanging on to fabric that you might use for some other purpose, you could store those items in a tub out in the garage or something. But inside your house, you just need an extra set of bedding. So Yeah, hopefully that made sense. I typically do strip the bed, wash everything, and put those same items back on. But if we unexpectedly have to wash a sheet because somebody spilled on it or whatever, we do have an emergency one for each bed. And I guess I'm flexible on this rule for kid beds. Let's say you have 3 kids and they each have a twin bed. I mean, you don't really need a spare for every single one, but you need at least an extra twin fitted sheet for emergencies. The rest of them could be, washed, put back on. But I just don't think it's a badge of honor to wash your sheet and put it back on and not have an extra, because I think there's going to be a time where maybe you start the laundry too late in the day and you need to get a sheet on your bed so you can go to bed. But don't have a ridiculous number of sheets in your closet. They can go somewhere else. I listened to a podcast, A Slob Comes Clean, love it, and she talks about something called the container concept. I want to be sure and credit her for that. It's not my term, but she basically talks about limiting yourself. Like a drawer is a container. Like if your sock drawer has no more room for socks, but you buy new socks, then you're going to have to get rid of some socks when you get the new ones, rather than just, I don't know, having a pile of laundry that's so big you can't put the stuff away, or getting another dresser. You don't always want to be buying more containers. And I use the word containers here loosely, in the sense that everything's a container. For example, your linen closet and your coat closet are just bursting at the seams. That doesn't mean you should buy an armoire or something, some self-standing closet to store more stuff. No, the containers should be limits. I don't have the statistic in front of me, but a lot of Americans are storing things. They're paying to store something in a storage facility. Don't be offended if you're doing that. I get that it can be a short-term solution. Maybe you move around a lot and you moved from a big house into an apartment, but you're going to move back into a big house, so you need to store that furniture. I get that. There are situations like that. But just to store things and to pay to store them long term that you may never use again, not a good idea. Probably in most situations involving a storage unit, it would have been better to use the container concept, sell some things, give some things away. I just remembered what Jessica thought I should talk about. I was talking to her about the fact that when I've lived in bigger cities, charities would come around and bring a special bag, leave it on the door, and it was a donation bag. And there would be information on the bag that talked about a pickup date, an upcoming date, that charity was going to be in the area. And there were instructions, fill up this bag, put it down by the curb. If you have other items you want to donate, clearly label them with, such and such, the acronym or whatever for the charity, right? So let's say that it'd be either for veterans or mentally handicapped. Those were two of the common ones. I don't remember the official names of the charities. But you would put like a piece of, you'd tape like a piece of paper onto like a bag, and or even just a piece of furniture, and put the name of the charity on it, and then you'd put it out with that like bright yellow bag that they provided you with, and they'd just pick everything up. That was so convenient. That was my method for years for keeping clutter under control, because when I'd get one of those, I'd be so excited, I'd be giddy. I mean, it's embarrassing how excited I was when I would get one of those charity bags. And it wasn't because I was doing something good to help others. I mean, that sounds good, but no, I was excited because it gave me a reason to go through my house and try to get rid of a bunch of stuff. It was just motivating for me. And obviously, part of it was the fact that it was guilt free because I wasn't just getting rid of stuff or trashing stuff that I paid good money for. It was going to a good cause. So but it wasn't so much about the giving as just the motivation that it provided. So maybe right now you are putting some things in a pile to donate, and there's something about donating that's just freeing because you don't feel like this was a waste, or maybe I should hold on to this because I spent so much on it. It's freeing because you're helping someone else. And, and then some people will get into this thing like, did you know that such and such the charity only gives this tiny percent to help others, this and that? No, don't go down that rabbit hole, because any charity, I've said this before, but any charity that has a thrift store is typically providing jobs to the less fortunate. They often employ people who are mentally handicapped or maybe recovering from addiction. So even the jobs that they provide are helping people, even if, you think of them as a for-profit business. Or what about this? This is a big one. You are enabling people to buy clothing and household items for cheap. Someone who just got a job and they need a pair of black pants and a black shoes, typical dress code or whatever for like a restaurant or grocery store or something like that. Thrift stores make it possible for them to get those items that they need, or, maybe a dressy outfit for a job interview or whatever. Maybe just people that need to clothe their kids. Yeah. If nobody donated their clothes to these questionable organizations, then people would have to buy their clothes brand new. So you're definitely helping the poor when you give to just about any charity. And don't get me wrong, if I don't approve of a charity or agree with the cause, yeah, I'm going to pick something else. So I'm going to pick something that I generally approve of the cause, or it's neutral or something like that. But just about any charity that has a thrift store is helping people on so many different levels. So maybe that will help you let go of some things today. I will also say, be careful about dumping your unwanted items on other people, who may politely take it but don't really want it. I have found that in general, people do want hand-me-downs from your kids. Kids' clothing is often less specific the younger your kid is. I mean, maybe you're super picky about what your baby wears, but in general, the younger the child, the less worn out the clothes get. They grow out of things they've only worn a couple times often. And I get that some of it gets stained or whatever, but a lot of it survives. Sometimes as your kids get older, less of their clothing survives until they grow out of it. I mean, I have an 11-year-old son, and he's notorious for kind of getting on the ground on the playground, ripping holes in his knees, ripping his shirt. Okay, so he's not passing down as much to others, but still there are items that survive often. It's his dress clothes, his dress shoes, dress shirts. You also might be saving clothes for a younger child. That's another thing about that closet that I keep in there. I have this little hanging canvas cubby thing, and I put items in there that somebody needs to grow into. Sometimes I have items for my sister's kids in one of the cubbies. I'll kind of wait until, I'm going to see her, or my mom's going to bring her some stuff or whatever. And then sometimes I'll have a cubby going of things that my 16-year-old son is passing down to my 11-year-old. My point is that kids' clothes, you may not give them to a charity because it's easy to find people you know to give them to. So that's an option too. So wherever you are in the process of cleaning out your closet, you probably have everything out, sorted out, or you're in the process of sorting through it. So if you haven't already done so, I encourage you to wipe down a closet shelf, vacuum or sweep the floor in there. Basically, actually, you've cleaned out the closet as far as taking things out, but now it's time to actually clean it before you put your stuff back in. The other day, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she moved into a new house, and she set up a coffee station. And it's kind of funny, but I had set up a coffee station in like 2014. I was super excited about it at the time. And at this house, I didn't have a coffee station. I guess because I just felt like, I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't. I didn't really have the perfect piece of furniture for it, I guess. Because when we moved in here, the like sideboard buffet table dresser thing that I was using for a coffee station became our bedroom TV stand, and my husband's using those drawers as his dresser. Hard to explain, but it was a piece of furniture that we had used in our dining room at a house where we had a formal dining room. And in some ways, I miss some aspects of that house. There's pros and cons to every house. I'm happy with my home, but I miss certain aspects of that house. I've talked about this a lot on the show, but I would keep my front entrance. There was like a large foyer area. I would keep that clean at all times. The family room was kind of on the back of the house, and you couldn't see it from the front door. So you would walk in, there was a foyer area, there was like a bookcase, and then to the right, there was like an alcove that was a formal dining room. So the table was there, I had my coffee station. So, there was a lady I babysat for who would come over and sit down and have coffee with me. Sometimes it would be my next door neighbor that would come over. And it was just, it was a great setup for entertaining without anyone like venturing into your house. Like basically, as long as you brought out like the milk or the creamer or whatever to the dining room, that person wouldn't really have to even venture any further. So they couldn't see the kitchen, they couldn't see the family room. So it was a convenient layout that way. I've talked about before too, like I've looked at houses where all the bedrooms are upstairs, and I think like, wow, all I'd have to do is just keep the kitchen and living room clean, but when you think about it, even in a one-story house, the bedrooms are usually down the hall, so the kitchen and living room do kind of take priority in your guest bathroom. But I digress. Once you've cleaned out your closet, it is recovery time. It's time to put things away and make sure that you don't leave a mess. Make sure that you don't leave a pile. Maybe if you are not ready to make decisions about certain items, they can go back into that closet. But it's still going to be better than when you started. Maybe you made room for your vacuum or your brooms. Brooms I keep in the space beside the refrigerator, like between the refrigerator and the wall. That's where I keep brooms and mops. But maybe you needed to free up room for a box that was somewhere else in your house, like when my daughter had a couple boxes behind the recliner, and those are now in my closet. Maybe you need to make room for a vacuum. But it's time to put things away. Maybe you need to redistribute things around the house. Maybe you have either a donate bag or just a bag of hand-me-downs for friends. You can put those out in your car so you don't forget. Oh, I was talking about when those charities come. Another thing that I kind of miss about being in a big city in the Fort Worth area, there are these like large boxes or bins in parking lots where you can just pull up and put something in there. Like it's just so convenient. Like you're going to Taco Bell or something and you can just pull over and put your donate bag into this container and you're done. You're done with it. I know some people want like receipts and stuff like that, and sometimes there's a way to do that, but I've done that before where I've donated to a charity and then you fill out a receipt on what you think the value of the items are. But I've just found that that's kind of more trouble than it's worth for me. I just donate not for the tax write off or anything like that, but just so that I'm not throwing away perfectly good items. And I can feel like I'm helping someone, and I'm more likely to get rid of more stuff when I know that it's not being wasted. So hopefully I've motivated you to get rid of some items. Um, Remember, when you're in a hurry and you need to stash some things out of sight, it's easier to do that when you have some free space somewhere, an empty cupboard, a half empty closet, you know, an empty shelf in a linen closet. So, again, it is recovery time. We're going to be winding up this episode. So, you're going to want to wrap up the project. If you got into a major overhaul and you're not ready to wrap it up, listen to another one of my episodes and just keep on it. I definitely don't want to call you off the job if you're being productive. But for a lot of us, this could be enough time to clean out a closet, reorganize it, and it just feels good. Maybe there's something in your house that is sitting out that you can now put in the closet. So be thinking about what that may be. Oh, I know I'm all over the place, but back to the coffee station thing. I have a desk in my kitchen and dining area, and nobody really sits at that desk, but I use the drawers for school supplies, like for kids doing homework and stuff. I call it the school desk because if, we find loose school papers or something in the living room or on the dining room table, like they go into that desk. Hey, Mom, where's my paper? Check the school desk. Mom, I need a pencil. Check the school desk. Okay, so, and I had a desktop computer that I thought had kind of crashed or whatever. Well, I ended up tinkering with that computer, got it working again, moved that to my bedroom office because I do my job on a laptop, but there's room on my desk for the other computer too because it's like a flat screen. So, but I could still put my laptop there because I like to be able to, move around when I work. But it would also be cool to do like kind of a dual screen thing by doing different things on each computer. But I say that, but chances are that one's probably going to be used for one of the kids' homework. Anyway, because it's better to have two kids sharing a laptop than three. Long story short, I got that computer fixed. My husband was like, take it to Geek Squad or whatever. I'm like, I am the Geek Squad. Really, I'm not a computer expert, but I somehow fixed it. Anyway, I got that moved to my room, and then I created a coffee station on top of the so-called school desk because the kids don't sit at that desk and work. It's a storage solution basically for school supplies. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. I got like a tray to put my K-Cup brewer and my iced coffee brewer on top of, just to catch any drips or whatever, not damage the furniture. And then I put some coffee grounds in a jar. And then I grabbed some containers. This didn't really cost me anything because I grabbed some containers that I already had, put sugar in one of them. The other one is kind of like for my off-limits K-Cups. Hard to explain, but I got these ones that are double caffeine, and I didn't want the kids getting into those, so those are hidden in a container instead of being in the little turntable where I display normal K-cups. So, yeah. The double caffeine ones are just for mommy. But anyway, that was kind of nice. The point of this story, I guess, is that it freed up counter space to kind of have this separate coffee station. So, if that's something you're interested in, maybe look around your house and see if there's a piece of furniture or something that you could put maybe along the wall next to like either your dining room table or a table in your kitchen nook, or, buy something. But maybe you want to set up a coffee station that's not on your countertop. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to just decorate a little coffee station. And so, yeah, I did that. And I do feel like my kitchen looks a little better. I really love removing things from the kitchen counter. That's not what this episode's about, but a little decluttering tip for you there. Hopefully you emptied out a closet, sorted through the stuff, cleaned the closet, and then put some of the stuff back. And that's it for this episode. We do plan to keep making deep cleaning episodes with a regular whole house episode thrown in here and there. I do plan to create some bonus content soon for my financial supporters. Sometimes I'll throw in an extra episode in there for those on Patreon, but I always put these main episodes first because I appreciate those who support the show financially, but I don't expect anyone to do it. That's just something over and above. Most of all, just keep listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, happy cleaning. I'll talk to you in the next episode.